Okay.
Janelle, are you ready?
Yeah.
The Columbus City Council meeting for June 20th, 2022 will now come to order. In compliance with the Open Meeting Act, Nebraska Revised Statute 84-1407, a current copy of this act is posted in this meeting room. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Bulkley.
Here.
Augustine Schulte. Here. Barr. Hemer.
Here.
Jablonski.
Here.
Kreshaw.
Here.
Lohr.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Schilling.
Here.
Mayor Bulkley, the roll has been called.
Thank you. Mrs. Council President.
Our Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve our fellow citizens. Please give us your wisdom and guidance to make the proper decisions entrusted to this governmental body. May our conduct show respect, honor, and courtesy to each other as well as to all our citizens. Amen.
Amen.
Oh,
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. That was as good a Star Spangled Banner as we've had in many, many weeks. Thank you all for participating. We've got a full house tonight. We'll try to keep things moving. If at any time during our meeting this evening anyone would like to get up and talk to an agenda item, we'd ask that you please come forward. We'd give your name and address, and we'd ask that you leave your comments to 5 minutes or less. With that, we'll move forward with the consent agenda.
Item 4, consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a City Council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from consent status and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item 4A, minutes of the June 6, 2022 City Council meeting. Item 4B, reappointment of Adam Murkowski and Ron Schilling, Council of Officials, and Charlie Barr, Board of Directors, to the Northeast Nebraska Economic Development District for 1-year terms. Item 4C, reappointment of John Davidson to the Joint Airport Zoning Board for a 4-year term. Reappointment of Jeffrey C. Johnson, Connie Helbush, Bob White, and Brian Shohan to the Citizens Advisory Review Committee for 4-year terms. Item 4E, bid from Dale R. Johnson, doing business as Johnson Trucking, for a 1-year supply of road gravel in the amount of $23.90 per cubic yard, delivered, or $18.45 per cubic yard if picked up. Item 4F, resolution number R22-73, authorizing payment of various improvement projects. Item 4G, Finance Department reports. Item 4H, payroll and bills on file. Mr. Mayor and Council, do you have anything you would like removed from consent status?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the items on the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Brings us up to public hearings.
Item 7A, public hearing, application of Palmyra's LLC, doing business as Palmyra's Cuban store for retail Class D liquor license at 2029 23rd Street.
Is there anyone here to speak against this public hearing? Anyone here to speak for this public hearing?
Mayor Berkeley and council, I'm here to speak on behalf of Anna, and I would like to tell you that she is one of my business clients. She's been in business for about 5 years. She's been a citizen of the United States for about 10 years. She runs a Cuban grocery store, and she would like to add this product of beer and wine to that store.
Any questions? Yes.
We need her name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're right.
Sorry, Beth. Doris Lux, 2418 142nd Road, Columbus.
And Doris, how do you say Anna's last name?
Vallegas.
Thank you.
I think Anna's here.
Anna is here, yes.
And we're glad to have you. Anyone else to speak for this? All right, I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All those in favor signify.
There's more of a motion to that.
And identify.
Recommendation to make to the
Yeah, if you read it as is, it's
Sorry.
whoever made the motion.
I recommend the public hearing be closed and recommend made the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission to approve the application of Palmyra Cuban store for retail Class D liquor license.
And it's a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
item 7A1, application of Palmyra's Cuban store for Anna C. Vallegas as manager in conjunction with the liquor license.
I move that the application of Palmyra Cuban store for Anna C. Vallegas, as manager be approved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those, any discussion? Any discussion? We'll write it right in the minutes, I'll guarantee you. Seeing all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Good luck.
Item 7B, public hearing, application of Ferguson Properties Incorporated and Brian C. Insinger for a special use permit to allow building coverage to be increased from 40% to 50% in an R2 two-family residential district zone in the vicinity of 25th Avenue and 38th Street. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Is there anyone here to speak against this public hearing?
Just curious, why is it the vicinity? Is there not a street address?
Rick, do you have that pulled up? It's a specific
Yeah.
lot. It's lots 10 and 11. I'm not sure why the agenda item didn't list 10 and 11, but there is in the,
But it says in the vicinity. That could be,
Well, there's not an immediate street address right there, so it kind of gives the public an idea about where it's at.
okay, about,
lots 10 and 11 Deerfield Park Townhouse Edition.
Usually it's kind of hard to find that.
Right.
All right, we have a motion and,
No, we don't.
no, we don't?
We need to see if anyone's for this.
Oh, anyone here for this public hearing? Entertain a motion to close.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 7B1, ordinance number 22-11, approving the special use permit.
Mr. Mayor, may the rules be suspended and ordinance number 22 be read by number only?
Second.
Do you want to say 22-11?
22-11.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 22-11. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Ordinance number 22-11.
I move that ordinance number 22-11 be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 22-11. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 7C, public hearing, application of Columbus Community Hospital, Inc. to rezone property located at 3912 38th Street from UC Urban Commercial District to B2 General Commercial District and amend the future land use map of the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission continued this public hearing to July 11th, 2022 at 7 p.m. So as you'll see, we need a recommended motion to continue this to July 18th.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the public hearing be continued to July 18th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue this public hearing till July 18th, 2022. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 7D, public hearing, application of Hornbacher House Moving Incorporated on behalf of Nick Larson to move a house from 3920 20th Street to 2416 5th Street. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Anyone here to speak against this public hearing? Anyone here to speak for this public hearing?
Move that the public hearing be closed.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 8A,
Wait.
request of Keith Riley.
Wait a minute.
You only closed the public hearing, you didn't actually
Yep.
vote on the,
Oh, there's
the item.
not a
Close the
separate
whole-
motion.
More to the motion.
So there needs to be a second motion made for the actual.
We closed the public hearing. We now need a motion to pass.
There's no
There is
recommended
no
motion, though.
Recommendation
There-
to pass.
It was part of, the motion was part.
Janelle had it listed as the recommended motion as two parts.
But they need to
so
be separate.
You guys did the first part,
Okay.
and then the second part needs to be done. It could have been done by one motion, but
Okay.
The recommended motion, do they
The only
read it?
recommended motion is to close the hearing.
And the,
It's on ours.
It's all there.
and the application be approved. That's two things. Close the
Did they
hearing.
read the
Application
motion
of
on here, or
Hornbacher
did they?
Moving On behalf of Nick Larson,
Did they?
to move the house at 20.
The application be approved.
Mr.
Can I
Schilling is,
amend my motion?
Yes, you should. Yes, you can.
well, you've already voted on the closing, so
Closing.
you just have to make a motion to
The application.
approve the
I
application.
move for the approval of the application of Hornbach House Moving on behalf of Nick Larson to move a house from 39 20th Street to 2416 5th Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Should we make Nick Larson get up here and talk or anything? But no, that's okay. Any discussion? Seeing none.
We need to move the meeting along.
Seeing none. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay.
I voted.
Gotta go back to it. Let's see. There you go. There's this.
Motion passes. That brings us up to petitions and communications.
Item 10A, sorry, 8A. My computer jumped. Item 8A, request of Keith Riley to discuss industrial site fire protection invoice.
Good evening. My name is Keith Riley, and I reside at 164 6th Avenue South. Part of the information I had requested to be presented tonight was not included in your packet. I formed one, which I think will make my comments go a lot faster. Do I have your permission to come up and present you with this information?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On May the 10th, I received an invoice that's marked at the bottom of the right-hand corner of your first 2 pages about a fire protection invoice on a piece of industrial property that I own. And on May 20th, I received an invoice for another piece of property I own approximately 1 block away, which is numbered by pages 3 and 4 at the bottom right-hand corner of your packet. I called the city finance director on May the 20th at 3:24 p.m. with several questions. I understand she's busy, but I left a voicemail requesting a return call, and to date, I've never received a return call from her about these invoices. I did email the discrepancies that are noted on pages 5 and 6, and I'll draw your attention to those. If you look on page 5 and 6 in the upper right-hand corner, Finance Department states 30-day terms. However, on one invoice, it was mailed out on the 6th. I received it on the 20th, or the 10th, excuse me. So I only have 21 days. The bottom left-hand corner, right above the perforation, it says it refers to a property valued at $64,125. I'm confused as to what property the city is referring to here. There is no address on here referencing this property. The second one, which I received on the 20th, same 30-day terms, but if you look at that, I only get 11 days if I follow that. This one does have a correction or an addition of a street address on there. So my question tonight is what I was trying to convey to the city finance director: how do I pay this invoice, and please explain this to me. And I did, for my protection and to your benefit, send this back certified mail. To date, I've never received a reply to that. So my questions are, can you please explain these terms to me? They don't make sense to me. How am I supposed to get 30-day terms when best case I got's 21? Second of all, if you're going to send an invoice, please at least put an address on it. And why the 12-day lag between the first and the second one? Now, it's just a question I pose to you because I know that some of you are business owners. How would you approach someone that sent you an invoice like this? Or would you allow your business to send out invoices like that? When I sent a request letter, I received several comments or several attachments back from the city administrator. And I'd like to draw your attention to the bottom of page 165, where it states on a March 4th, 2021, a letter to the Public Finance Committee: we will provide an estimate for each property owner and tenant of their expected fire fee for 2022. Members of the council, I've never received any communication from the city outside of an invoice. Pages 165 and 166 are supposedly a letter the city administrator says was sent notifying property owners of the fire fee. I want you to please notice that there's no date at all in the upper right-hand corner of this. So there's no way that I know when this was even sent or if it was sent, and I question if it's even a legal letter. And I believe the reason we use dates is we establish a timeline so we have some idea of what's been going on here. Page 168 in your packet, at the bottom of that, is my email response back to the city administrator stating that since I never received a letter and no date was included in the attachment that was sent to me, there's no proof of delivery. I don't consider this a claim of being notified. Page 169 is a response I was sent back stating that the letter was merely a courtesy. Well, I take a little exception to that, again, because in a Public Finance Committee letter dated March 4th, 2001, it states the city will send out letter if this is approved. Again, I've never received an estimate. I've never received a letter notifying me of this coming, and I just got 2 invoices. I don't understand this. The city did a great job of building a viaduct several years ago. It was all kinds of great communication. So what's changed on here? Why couldn't this have been treated with the same way? And if it was this important, why couldn't I be sent a certified letter? So you have a track of everybody that knows got this. There are 4 other property owners right next to me in the industrial tract that I own. None of them ever got any communication other than invoices. And yet it was stated in city letters to staff members that city staff would send this out. And in researching this, when this industrial tract was formed in 1969 between Westside Industrial Corporation, James and Alice Cumming, and Alfalfa Mill Company. An approval was received from the City of Columbus on December 17th, 1969, and I purchased my first piece of property from Westside Industrial Corporation in 2004. And in doing so, I sat down with Joe Fry, who was the city administrator at that point in time, and I understood that I was responsible for providing my own water, my own sewer, my own fire, and my own police protection. I understood that. However, Joe said that he had a personal bias against private wells and septic tanks, and he would make me a one-time offer of if I was willing to pay twice the cost, he would allow me to hook on to city water and city sewer. He just did not like private wells and septic tanks. I was glad for it. I said, okay. But other than that, I understand where I'm at. I've never, in the 18 years I've owned this property, made a claim to the city or the county for anything. I've taken my own tractor and blade and graded the road out in front of it. I knew what I was getting into. Second of all, I don't understand why we can't have had some communication on this. Let me ask you a question here. Does the city of Columbus have a home rule charter granted to it by the unicameral?
Home rule.
Okay, then do you operate under Dillon's rule?
Yes.
Okay, then as I understand Dillon's rule, you have to approach the legislature to specifically ask for the purpose of levying an additional tax on top of taxes I've already paid. I have been paying taxes for rural fire department protection. I also understand that the city just entered into an agreement with $45,000 a year plus $385,000 for the purchase of a fire truck. Is that correct?
Which has no bearing on industrial sites,
But my tax dollars going to the county are paying that.
but has no bearing on county industrial sites.
But my tax dollars that I paid are part of that money. I'm being asked to pay twice.
You're paying a Columbus Rural Fire Protection District levy,
Mhm.
but that has no bearing on the fact that you're located in a county industrial tract. They're separate legislations, and the separate legislations are both being followed according to the letter of the law.
I've asked for specific documentable communication from someone in the city to explain this to me. I've never gotten it. In an email, 3 emails to you, I've asked you for specific
And I gave you
language.
that. Mr. Riley, I did give you that.
Nebraska statute 13117 says that utility services during the time any tract is designated as an industrial area as provided by sections 113 to 120, the owners of such designated areas shall provide at their expense for water, electricity, sewer, fire, and police protection. And I submit to you, I have paid in my county taxes. My documents are on the back, the last 4 or 5 pages. My tax receipts show that I paid. I have paid that. I'm simply asking to be shown where you get the legal right to levy an additional tax on me.
This is the right that authorizes the city to do a fire fee.
It's
The-
only one sentence, ma'am. I want more than that. I don't buy the
Well,
fact that you have it.
This does give the city authorization to do a fire fee, and there's 14 industrial tract districts. One of them has been paying a fire fee for 25, 30 years. The other 13 weren't paying one because, as you indicated, there were other practices followed for a number of years, and the fire fees weren't established when those industrial tracts were initially established, and they should have been. It should have been equitable from the very beginning, but it wasn't, unfortunately. So what the council decided was that it would be equitable going forward, that one industrial tract owner over on the east side of town should not have to pay a fire fee while everybody else doesn't have to, because they're getting the same service.
Again, I don't buy that this does this. I don't see where it specifically gives you that right. I'm just asking to provide me that. I've looked through
Right,
case
but I
law,
have
no one's
just-
ever No one's ever challenged
Right,
this.
but this is the state statute that authorizes it, and our attorneys agree. I've talked to the Nebraska League of Municipalities. In fact, we just made some changes to these rules this last session and addressed a lot of these things at the legislature.
Might have addressed them, but they're not law today.
Yes, they are. They are. I understand your opinion is different, but they are addressed specifically for industrial tracks.
Okay, can you explain to me why I never was notified of this?
Well, we believe we did send out letters to everybody, and over a year ago, we got lots of inquiries about it. So I know a lot of property owners did get the letter. If you're claiming you didn't get it, then maybe in hindsight, they should have sent them certified. But a lot of people did get them and did inquire about it and planned for the year that we had given them advance notice.
Well, I think it's important to point out the advance notice was a statement from a committee as a courtesy to the taxpayers. It's not a state statute. It's not required. It was being done as a courtesy. So the letters did go out. You didn't get yours. We apologize for that. Should they have been certified letters? Possibly. Should we spend that extra money to make sure everybody's gotten what they're supposed to get? We can have that discussion at another time. You know, the great thing about our country is you can have an opinion whether something's law or not law. We can feel comfortable with what we're doing. You can then move forward. If you want to challenge it, you're more than welcome to challenge it. We feel extremely comfortable with what we've presented from the fire standpoint, from the fire tax standpoint, both legally and through the legislature. So the city is very comfortable with what we've done, Mr. Riley.
You're comfortable with invoices that don't make sense?
Mr. Riley, if we made a mistake on an invoice, we will try to correct it. Excuse me, maybe we made a mistake. Have you ever made a mistake?
Sure.
All right, thank you. If we missed something on the days because the dates didn't line up, why didn't you just say, hey, you only got 21 days here, I'm supposed to have 30. Would you extend that for 9 more days? I'll pay it in 9 more days. I'm just telling you, yes, if we've made those mistakes, we'll be glad to address it and look at it the best way we can. But otherwise, I'm sorry if it hurt your feelings that you got an invoice that you didn't quite understand, and maybe we should have explained it a little better. We'll try to do that in the future.
Didn't hurt my feelings. I'm just here as my right tonight. I made the effort. I sent the invoices back. My point is, I've never gotten any reply back.
But I did reply to you. You
saw
just don't
copies,
believe it's sufficient.
Mr. Riley, I saw copies. You just weren't happy with the answers you got. They may have been short answers because we were very comfortable with what we had done being legal. So I'm sorry if we didn't explain it into lawyer terminology, but we didn't feel we needed to pay our city attorney to explain it that way. Maybe we might have done it in layman's terms. We are very comfortable with what we've done and what we've presented to you.
I have my right to express my opinion.
You certainly do, and we're glad you did. We're very glad you did.
I got one comment.
Yes, sir.
These invoices, have we straightened this mistake out?
Yeah, they should have been more generic and not had the service dates and all of that, and they should have had more detail on them. And I have addressed that with the clerk's office. Next year they'll be.
That's been taken care of.
Yes.
Thank you. 'Cause it really looks bad.
It does. I
Mr.
agree.
Riley has a
Yes.
very good point, because they're,
No denying that at all. Any other comments? All right, we'll move on to public reports of council committees.
Item 10A, Public Property Safety and Works Committee of June 13th, 2022. Item 10A1, Creation of Street Improvement District Number 188, 23rd Street, Shady Lake Road from 54th Avenue to the west corporate limits. The Public Property Safety and Works Committee recommends approval to proceed with the creation of SID number 188.
Mr. Mayor, I move that this report be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve or adopt this committee report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 10A2, Creation of Street Improvement District Number 189, 48th Avenue from 23rd Street to south of Bradshaw Park entrance. The Public Property Safety and Works Committee recommends approval to proceed with the creation of Street Improvement District Number 189.
Mr. Mayor, I move that this report be adopted.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt this committee report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Brings us up to new business.
Item 13A, quote from Mid-Iowa Solid Waste Equipment Company Incorporated in the amount of $18,800 for used sewer vacuum unit for the street division.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the quote from Mid-Iowa Solid Waste Equipment be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the quote from Mid-Iowa Solid Waste Equipment. Any discussion? I would say kudos to the department for looking at used equipment, and this is some mighty good-looking used equipment, and I know the price difference, so. All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 13B, quote from Connecting Point in the amount of $28,669 for computer hardware for various departments.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the quote from Connecting Point for computer hardware be accepted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the quote from Connecting Point for computer hardware. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 13C, quote from General Traffic Control Incorporated in the amount of $11,740 for 4 standalone data collection units for the street division.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the quote from General Traffic Controls, Inc. for pedestrian traffic control lights be accepted.
We're on C.
No, we're on C, not D.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
The quote from General Traffic Controls for data collection units be accepted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the quote from General Traffic Controls for 4 standalone data feedback units for street division. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
What data are we collecting, Rick?
Well, speeds, volumes, all those sorts of, like the one that's standalone that you can see your own speed on. It's those are obvious to drivers. These will be kind of incognito, collecting the same data.
All right.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 13D, quote from General Traffic Controls Incorporated in the amount of $125,440 for pedestrian traffic control lights for the street division.
Now you can.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the quote from General Traffic Controls, Inc. for pedestrian traffic control lights be accepted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the quote from General Traffic Controls for 14 rectangular rapid flash beacon units for the street division. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just curious where our plan is to put them.
In your front yard, just one of them's going.
Oh, please. I've already got enough there already.
Do you have the locations memorized?
Oh, I mean, are they downtown or are
Around
they-
the community?
Oh, all over the, okay, that's
By
fine. I
schools.
didn't know if it was like a downtown thing or if it
No,
was.
spread out.
Yeah, a number
And
of
following
years
their
ago,
study.
HDR did a pedestrian safety and mobility study, and I think there's 25 different places it's recommended to do this, and we're able to do 14 with the money we have in the budget this year.
Okay, very good, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
These are not school traffic lights. These are,
They're ped crossing, so there's a lot in school areas.
I was gonna say, some may be in school areas, but not all.
they don't replace the traffic lights or the traffic pedestrian crossing lights for school
It's a
children.
different study.
No, they don't replace.
So some of these, the lights that have the yellow light on top, and some of them can't be turned off. We just have to stay on running 24/7 until they turn them on and off. They'll replace those. Otherwise, there'd be additional ones too. Crossings.
And I think also Brent's talking
But not
about
the
like
countdowns.
and the street lights
Oh.
that are
Yeah,
up.
No, they're not the countdowns. These
By
are the,
Fourth
Yeah,
Ward School, that the traffic light in the middle of the street for
yet.
school crossing, that's not involved with this.
it's not the ones that overhead, like the traffic signal ones. They're the ones on the side that you push the pedestrian buttons that have the single light on. Right now, they actually are not actuated right now. They just flash all the time when school's theoretically out.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 13E, request for proposals for management of the Columbus Municipal Golf Courses. The Board of Park Commissioners recommends the deadline of July 19th, 2022 for RFPs be changed to the end of the 2023 golf season. That city staff work with Doug Dunbar and Brent McGrew throughout the next year to come up with an agreement that works for both of them. And then if requests for proposals are received, the review committee would include 2 members of the Board of Park Commissioners and 2 members of the Columbus Golf Association.
Mr. Mayor, I move to cancel the request for proposals and proceed with negotiations on contract with the golf professional.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to cancel the request for proposal and move forward with contract negotiations with the golf pro. Any discussion? I think just a few comments. This would be a follow-up from our last park board meeting. A lot of comments, a lot of discussion regarding the RFP that was being looked at. After that meeting, I did make I sent an email to our council making a recommendation that I felt it was in the best interest of the community to move forward, put together a contract, and let's get Quail Run back to where it belongs and make things whole again in our community. And then, you know, if there's the desire to look at things down the road, we can do it at another time. That being said, that is, I believe, the gist of where this recommendation has come from. And we have a motion and a second. Any other comments anyone wants to make?
I think you had mentioned the length of the contract, and I think that ought to be included within the motion of you know, at least 5 years, or, you know, a minimum 3 for sure. Yeah. And the contract begins at the end of his original his contract now.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd want to amend, if you'd like to amend the motion to include a time frame, I did recommend in my note to the council, let's just do a 5-year contract and move forward. So if Troy, you'd like to amend that into your motion, that'd be fine.
I can make an amendment, and I move to amend that motion to a 5-year contract.
Troy made the motion, so he has to
Yeah, that's what that's all I
agree.
was getting at. Troy made the motion, and we just need him to second it.
I would,
Go ahead.
I would definitely move to add the 5-year extension for the contract with the acceptance of everybody else. Unless somebody would like to say it longer, shorter.
And just for clarification's sake, the current contract goes through the end of 2023.
That'd be
So
after.
then we'd be 2028, correct?
We were kind of talking that it would start at the beginning of 2023.
Yes.
Well, that's 2 different things. To start new 5-year at the beginning of 2023 is different than letting the current contract that ends in December of 2023.
How long will it take to negotiate? I mean, we got, what, 6 months left?
Yeah. No, we have 1 year and 6 months left
Oh, yeah,
on the
okay,
current
20
contract.
Okay, yeah. Never mind.
The 5-year contract would start at the end of his present contract.
Do you want to do that? I mean, I have a feeling he wants the new contract
Well, I
sooner
just
rather than later.
Got everybody looking at me. Doug Dunbar, 107 South 7th Avenue. We discussed that in the golf committee meeting, and it was agreed that if possible, we would try to get it done by the end of this year. And I guess, you know, as long as I agree, and as long as the city agrees, that would be okay.
Okay.
If not,
It'll be just a 5-year contract from the end of this year.
from 2023 on.
Okay.
So do we want any special wording into the?
Okay, I'd make the recommendation that the motion and the second that are on the table to be withdrawn, and then if start over, because it's kind of confusing on what exactly you guys are looking at doing from sitting over here. So I don't remember. I don't remember who made the second. So
Rich did.
Okay. Okay.
so if the second and the motion, if those two individuals want to withdraw it and there's no objection, you can allow that to happen, Mayor, and then a new motion can be made. If there's an objection to the withdrawal of that, then you're gonna have to vote it down.
I'll move to cancel my motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to remove, which means we're back open on the floor to have a discussion on,
You have to
oh, we'd have to vote on it. All those in favor? Any discussion?
So you don't have to make a motion. You can withdraw and the second's withdrawn. And if you
Then
see
you start over.
and then you can, if you see no dispute on that and it's unanimous consent, basically, you can treat that as being withdrawn and you can proceed with making the new
So no
motion.
vote, no,
Need to
okay.
vote on it.
All right.
So, but if there is somebody that doesn't want that to happen, then there's a motion on the floor.
Is there any disagreement?
Well, if,
We're all in favor of withdrawing.
the council here is in favor, and then we
We'll
will have,
withdraw-
and then we will
withdraw the
have
motion and
discussion,
start
so
over.
you're welcome. Just a minute, Jack.
So with the new motion, I move forward with the request proposals and proceed with the negotiations on the contract with the golf professional for a 5-year term if the contract is met at the end of the year or agreed upon at the end of this year to start.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second to remove.
I don't think you need to repeat it.
I
I
won't
think
repeat
Janelle has
it.
it.
Okay, Janelle has it.
Nell's got it.
5-year contract that will start at the end of this year as long as everything gets done and put together. How's that? Okay? Any discussion? Seeing none on the council, do we have any, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, if it's not done by the end of the year, then what happens?
Well, I
He
think we,
still has a current contract.
well, yeah, he'd have the
That's
current
current
contract.
contract.
He's got the contract that runs through 23.
I see.
I imagine if this is approved, then that contract becomes null and void because this one would take
Gotcha.
over for anything in, okay, okay. And if it's not approved or it didn't get done, we got a contract to work forward with. Any other comments on the council? Seeing none, any comments in the audience? Yes, sir. Please, Jack, your answer, get up here, come on.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Jack Nozzle, 10 Lake Shore Drive. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for coming to the park board meeting and listen to what the golfers had to say about the present situation at Quail Run. I think in part of what he heard that day led to perhaps part of the recommendation that you heard this evening. You know, for a long time, Quail Run held by its own existence, was held in high esteem and had a very good reputation in the state. And it was a well-deserved reputation as being one of the best municipal golf courses in the state. Unfortunately, that blankety-blank flood came along, and then about 2.5 years of COVID-related issues, and Quail Run has been knocked down a perch or two off of that loft that they had in terms of the recognition within the state golfing community. Now is not the time, though, to press the panic or reset button. But now is the time for everyone, the golfers, the golf staff, the golf maintenance crews, the public properties director, the city administrator, the city council, the mayor, everybody come together and pool together to bring Quail Run back to what it was. And I think that can happen if we can get that cooperation from everyone, and it's needed. Because now it seems to be some division and going in different directions, and that's not good for anyone. So if we can do that, in the words of a famous Nebraskan, I think we can get her done. Thank you for listening.
Jackson.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'm sorry, anybody else? We have a motion and a second. Anyone want to get her done? All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
F, plan specifications estimate of cost in the amount of $40,000 for authorization to advertise for bids for the Loop River levee pipe cleaning and inspection. Plans and specs are on file in the engineering department.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the plan specifications, estimate of cost, and authorization to advertise for bids for the Loop River levee pipe cleaning and inspection be approved.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Whoops, I went too fast. Sorry, we didn't even vote.
Reflex.
Yes.
I think we just lost our audience.
Motion passes. If anybody would like to leave at this point, you please feel free to. We take a moment before we move on. I was going to do that, and we got right into the next one. All right.
Item 13G, comments from the mayor and city council members. In compliance with the Open Meetings Act, no discussion can be held on this item.
Any council members have anything to say this evening? I have nothing this evening, so we'll move on to resolutions.
Resolutions, item 14A, resolution number R22-74, amending the agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, local number 1575, to account for organizational changes to the fire department.
Mr. Mayor, I move that resolution number R2274 be adopted.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number R22-74. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay.
Just voting right along here.
Motion passes.
Item 14B, resolution number R22-75, approving the agreement with Gilmore and Associates Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $32,500 for design and construction phase services for lift station renovations 2022, Howard Boulevard and 51st Avenue.
Mr. Mayor, I move resolution number R22-75 be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution R22-75. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 14C, resolution number R22-76, approving the agreement with HDR Engineering Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $288,300 for design and construction phase services for Lost Creek Parkway water main extension, Lost Creek Parkway from 26th Avenue to US Highway 81, and US Highway 81 from Lost Creek Parkway to 63rd Avenue.
Mr. Mayor, I move resolution number R22-76 be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number R22-76. Any discussion?
Just
Yes, sir.
a question. This is for water main. Didn't we do sewer before? This is just the water.
This is water.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Brings us up to ordinances on their first reading.
Item 15A, ordinance number 22-12, amending the pay plan by correcting various pay rates.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the rules be suspended and ordinance number 22-12 be read by number only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read ordinance number 22-12 by number only. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Ordinance number 22-12.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 22-12.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 22-12. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Is there anything else we can bring up before we get to unfinished business? We can just make our friends wait a little bit longer.
No.
Seeing nothing else, we'll move on to unfinished business.
Item 19A, request of Platte County to discuss Highway 3064 connector.
You gonna ask if somebody's in opposed?
No, this is just a discussion.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Jerry Engdahl. I live at 54 Park Circle Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to address the full council. Did you receive a copy of the email I sent to the mayor along with the letter from Butler County? Have you seen that? No.
They may not have, Jerry.
Okay. I was trying to save 15 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
no problem. I'll just do a quick overview. Jim Scow is here, another supervisor, and two members of the Hirschbrunner Consulting are here, so save your questions for the smart people. A quick overview. For probably as many as 30 years, we've talked about Arnie's Bridge over the Platte River. Probably within the last 2 or 3 years, it's became known as the 3064 connector. An MOU was signed by 5 political entities, including the city. We pledged, or we committed, $45,000 among the 5, and from there a steering committee was formed. They commissioned a traffic study. Since then, not much has happened. At a transportation committee meeting, we heard that we might be able to get the economic development people from NPPD to do a study, do a cost-benefit study. I had seen somewhere something about $400,000 to do this study, and I think we can get it for free. So we decided then that maybe we needed to get going again. The county didn't do away with the MOU. We didn't do away with the steering committee at that time. We kind of tabled it. Shortly after that, I think the city council did the same thing. At our May 24th meeting, we really did do away with it because we felt like we had a group to take their place. And that had been our intent all along. We didn't want to do away with the whole project and have it get forgotten for another 30 years. And now we think we have something in place to continue the effort. So we decided, the county decided, that DC Hirschbrunner Consulting was the ideal group to move this project forward, and we approved paying them up to $7,500 at our May 24th meeting. All of us spent approximately half of our money that we committed earlier on the traffic study. So now we have approximately the same amount of money left. As you know, all 7 Butler County supervisors, well, maybe you don't know, you didn't get the letter. All 7 Butler County supervisors sent a letter in support and wanting to move ahead with this project. And they made reference to rumors that they didn't want to. They sent a letter that they're all behind the project. The county's behind the project. We're asking that the city authorize up to $7,500. That's the amount of money basically left from your original commitment so that we can get this project going. The people we hired will work with Loop. Loop has to work with NPPD to get that economic development benefit completed. So that's kind of an overview. I'd be glad to try to answer questions, but like I said, I've got 3 other people here, so
Jerry,
any questions?
Have we spent Butler County's money yet, or has that entered the pool?
have we spent? The other counties?
But Butler County's money.
Butler County, we spent the same percentage. Everybody, all the
They have money
first
that they
five,
can-
they still have like 5,000 left. You committed 15, we committed 15, they committed 10. The other two counties were 2,500 apiece, and as far as I'm concerned, the biggest benefactor from this project is the city of Columbus. What's good for the city is good for the county. Butler County is very interested in it. I realize this could be a 10, 15, 30-year project, but you got to start sometime. To me, this benefit study may get thousands of semis off the streets in Columbus over a period of time. It'll make commuting time a lot less for a lot of people that come work in our plants. We think if the study shows what we hope it shows, that the manufacturing community will get on board and help us raise money. But right now, we're talking about up to $15,000 total. We're not talking about 400,000. We're not talking about anything more than 15,000, and probably not that much. They're ready to go to work. We just basically need your commitment. Money as it's expended, just like we did before, we would ask you to reimburse us for your share. Questions?
Yeah, your point was that we never put all the money into a pool.
Right.
The
Right.
money was just given
Committed.
as expenses went. So
Yes, it wasn't spent.
Only expenditures that were, undertaken were paid. That's why there's, as Jerry's mentioning, money left in the pool. That's what he's referring to. And Jerry, I made this comment to you. I think a lot of what we have to get comfort with is the legality of how we can go about doing what we can do with city monies and amounts we can do things with without certain procedures walking through. And I think those are just the things that, we have city statutes.
Oh, I agree.
And I know it might sound like, well, gee, you're hemming and hawing. No, we're not hemming and hawing. I mean, we've got to.
No, we all have rules and regulations. If you can only spend $4,900 and Butler County spends it, we're good. I
Well-
think what we're more interested in is the commitment rather than the money. Also, we will need the
Oh,
money.
that's good. I mean, that.
No, we will need the money. But the priority is a commitment to move ahead. The community's talked about this for 30 years, and I think we have a chance to move ahead. John?
Jerry, if you gather the money for this study and the study gets done and it comes up with a positive result, what happens then?
Well, that'll kind of be up to this consulting group that we've hired. They will work, I'll let them answer that. They'll work on a timeline and tell it. To me, the whole key is going to be if this NPPD study shows overwhelming benefits, then we'll figure out how to move ahead. If it doesn't, I'm going to fold my tent and go home.
Thank you.
Just for clarification's sake, you made a comment that we can spend 4,900.
Well, I thought 5,000 was your limit.
No, well, we have purchasing policy for any spending.
Thank you.
Just for the council's
Thank you.
clarification, anything between 1,000 and 5,000, we have to get quotes for, according to the purchasing policy. So I don't.
The 4,900 came from you and I having a discussion.
I just want to keep it under 5,000.
So that's why I say we have to have the discussion about what can we do if there's interest from the council. That's
I guess if we never we only tabled it and we had 15,000 original, right? We spent 7,500.
You already committed 15. That's true.
So
So
we
we
still have 7,500 left of that commitment?
I
So
think
we
that's
committed
true.
15, probably 24 months ago it was, and that was in last fiscal year that the traffic study was complete, and we paid for the traffic study. That completed the obligations of that interlocal, so we didn't carry the extra money over to the next year. So we don't have anything in the budget for it.
So we've
right now.
canceled the interlocal?
no.
No,
The interlocal said that it was to pay for a traffic study. That was completed. So we didn't just carry the money over for nothing, because what the interlocal said was completed. It ended up costing less than we thought it was gonna cost for the traffic impact
If I
study.
remember, I was around 23,000.
What do we need to do to go forward with this in legal terms? Do we need to form another interlocal agreement? Do we need to have an agenda item approving? What do we need to do?
Go ahead, Neil, did you?
Well, your agenda item tonight is just for discussion, so you can't do anything
Right.
tonight. If this is something you want to proceed with, I think we have to look at the policies that Columbus has adopted on following. The interlocal that is being referenced, my recollection of that was just for the traffic study, and then all the entities would have to agree to amend it, which never happened to my knowledge.
Right.
So that might be a route. I don't know. We'd probably have to get with council for the counties here to discuss whether that's a viable option or not.
Yeah. When we entered into that interlocal, the condition that the council set at that time was that it be city, county, and a minimum of 2 other counties, but you think Butler County is the only other one that's interested?
They're the only one they're showing big interest. All 7 supervisors, they want to move ahead. Polk County and our neighbors to the east were cool from the beginning. They only put in 2,500, so I'm not sure that's, I mean, it's more important to the city of Columbus than it is to them.
So to address Brent's thoughts and comments, what would be the process to bring back a motion, to do some homework and bring something back? I'm just asking for direction, no
I think we need to
decision.
do some homework and then bring it back as an actionable agenda item if that's the route the city wants to proceed.
And if we're going to go that route, what is the actionable item that we'd like him to proceed so we don't come back at another meeting and have the same discussion that needs to go back for further homework? So can we give a little point here of what is it we want to hear, have brought back to us, whatever that might be?
I mean, if the city were looking for professional consulting services for something, we would put a scope together, even if it is a small amount relatively. We would put a scope together and go out and solicit proposals. So I don't know if there is a scope or if there's what the pleasure of the council is, I guess. And I don't. You said the study was free, but we're paying for. So what are we paying?
We're paying the consulting company to pursue this, move it along, which hasn't happened for a year and a half. Nothing's happened. So we have 2 people that are very interested, very committed, been involved with this a long time, both very capable people. I don't know how you guys work. Sometimes the county can go without getting bids when you have good reasons. And in your case, you're talking about less than, or not more than, $7,500. So maybe you can find a place to get that money.
Our need for the D&D boys is to provide information to Nebraska Public Power on what we want to see in a study.
Correct.
So they get to determine what the assumptions are, though?
And they have to work through Loop to do that. Yeah. We can't, NPPD has to work through one of their partners.
But it's what we're trying to put together, the information to give to MPPD. Instead of just saying MPD, we want a cost basis,
right.
And it could be have nothing to do with what we want to accomplish. Is that correct?
Well, I guess I'll let you ask those guys, but to me, for economic reasons, they do this all the time. We want economic benefits of doing this. That's what we're looking for, along with cost.
Tell us anything, but we want to be specific
That's right.
us.
That's right.
Right.
How it would affect the city of Columbus, what's the economic benefit, what's the benefit to the manufacturers?
And
Like I s-
along that line, anytime you do an economic impact study, there are assumptions you have to enter in on the
Sure.
front end. So I guess.
And I think that's what I'm sure these gentlemen would be willing to meet with anybody that wants input.
That's my point, is I think the city needs to have some input on
I
what
think
those
that,
assumptions
I think that'd be
are.
great, because like I say, I think you're the biggest beneficiary.
Yeah, the traffic study doesn't support that, but I don't know that an economic
the-
impact study would support that, but we'll.
Somebody told me that they didn't even do a traffic study for the Parkway. It seemed to work out pretty good.
That can't be true because they got federal funding. They got a federal grant,
Any,
so we can.
I have people here, if you guys have these specific questions, I just as soon let D&D.
I have a quick question, Jerry. Well, first of all, I'm glad to hear all the Butler County representatives are in agreement on it, because it'll definitely benefit Butler County and Platte County the most. But I guess my question is Colfax wanting to be involved in this study or not?
Haven't seemed to be.
I think right now, the answer is no.
No problem.
You have 3 commissioners over there, I think all with less than 2 years' experience. They're kind of overwhelmed. They have a good road from David City to Schuyler.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, they're not going to realize the benefit that Columbus is.
Sure. That way in Platte,
Right.
Butler County will.
And you could say the same thing about Polk County.
It's true. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or questions for my experts?
Personally, I would like to proceed with this. I think it's important that we know what the economic benefits are, if there are any. And spending a small amount of money to find out those benefits, I think, is good business for us. And I would like to see us proceed to do what we need to do to get that kind of a study accomplished.
Thank you.
I agree, definitely agree.
Any questions of all these experts behind me?
I mean, you're welcome, guys, if you want to come up and say anything. I think what it comes down to is what can we put together in the best manner to accomplish what Brent just laid out very eloquently. You know, I mean, and it's just going to take some time, you know, to get that accomplished with a few questions and answers, and then what are our options? And I think everybody just wants to understand that, you know, when we get into something like this, we can't get an answer tomorrow morning. It takes a little bit of homework, a little bit of research, because we got to make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because everybody in this room may want this. All we need is one citizen that doesn't like what we've done. And so we've got to make sure what we're doing follows through with what we can do. And that doesn't mean we like it or don't like it. It's what we do. So any other questions for Jerry or any of our guests?
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Appreciate your time.
Jerry. We will proceed as Brent has indicated. I think the council has given that direction, and come back soon with some information to move forward, to see what we can do. Saying that, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.